Good evening, everyone, and welcome to a very special night of Weekend Co-ops. Tonight we're playing 6 Days in Fallujah with the WTF Nation gaming crew. But we're doing something a little different tonight. We're going to be talking with Peter Tamte, who is the CEO of Victura, the developer behind 6 Days in Fallujah. Uh, he's going to talk a little bit about, what went into the development of 6 Days and their new content and everything that's gone on over the last year or so that 6 Days has existed. So, without further ado, here we go. This is Peter Tamte of Victura. Thank you for being with us today. I appreciate you.
Thanks for having me, Nemo.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. So 6 Days in Fallujah has been around now for, has it been 3 years? Can't even think
Well,
about
yeah,
it.
we released the first 10% of the game into early access in June of 23.
Mhm.
And then we released another three missions in December. So yeah, I don't know, was it a year and a half or so?
Yeah, yeah. I think I just remember seeing videos going as far back as 3 years. So I'm thinking
Oh
of the
yeah, well we
timeline
announced.
of
You're
yeah,
right. No,
yeah.
you're right because we announced this, or I should say, we re-announced the game
Hmm.
in 2021. So that
Yeah,
that would be, yeah, 3.5 years ago. And we announced it for the first time back in 2009,
yeah,
actually.
yeah.
Yeah.
So for for the new folks out there about who don't know what the game 6 Days in Fallujah is, but knows what the Battle of Fallujah is, um, break it down for the new folks, because we have a lot of people in the WTF community who knows what 6 Days in Fallujah is because of the times you've come on to Pop Culture Warrior and spoken with CQ. But we'll have a lot of newer folks who are just solely focused on the gaming side of things who maybe don't know what the game is. For those folks, can you let them know just a little bit of what 6 Days in Fallujah is?
Yeah. So 6 Days in Fallujah, it's a first-person tactical shooter that recreates um, true stories from the Battle of Fallujah, the second Battle of Fallujah in November 2004. 20 years ago, this next week. And yeah, the project began back in 2005, actually. A Marine that I knew well from 3-1 was badly wounded during the battle, blown up by a mortar, almost killed on the battlefield. Spent time in a hospital well, first of all, he goes to the medical tent on the battlefield. Then he's in the hospital in Baghdad. Then he's in the hospital in Germany. He's in the hospital in the United States. And then he told me these stories of things that happened in the battle, not to him, but to others. And I was embarrassed because I hadn't heard any of these stories. And I knew a lot. I followed the subject. I knew a lot. And then the deeper we got into the subject, the more we realized that not just these stories of things that had happened during this battle are extraordinary, but this is one of the most consequential events of the past half century. And it's something that I think media, with some exceptions, have been afraid to talk about. It was actually his idea, Sergeant Eddie Garcia's, his idea to try to tell these stories through a video game. And of course, when one of my heroes asked me to tell a story, it's a deep honor. So I said yes, not knowing what I was getting myself into.
Yeah. Yeah. That's understandable though. I mean, and that's the thing for like you just said, like you had no idea what you were getting yourself into, but that's really the point. Is that so many
Mhm.
people don't understand what happened there.
That's right.
Like so again, is this is 20 years ago, and you haven't really seen, you've seen like one or two movies about, like, like The Hurt Locker and some other things about the conflicts in Iraq and Afghanistan, but you haven't really seen it's not We Were Young, We Were Soldiers Once and Young, remember those
Yeah,
stories
I
of the
do.
Vietnam War?
Absolutely.
We
Absolutely.
haven't really started to break into that kind of mainstream coverage of what the Iraq and Afghanistan conflicts were. We've seen a
Yeah.
few movies here and there, but not quite the same glamorizing or glorifying of, like they did in Vietnam and with World War II movies. So it's it's amazing to see that form of storytelling being done in a video game. like I think gamers will understand what that's like from, like some of the other projects you've worked on, like Halo, like the storytelling of games like that. We get that. That impacts us. We feel those things. We remember the characters. We remember all that stuff. So it's great to see it come back in something like 6 Days in Fallujah.
Yeah.
And yeah,
We can. Well, thank you. No, I appreciate that compliment a lot. Yeah, it's interesting. I think folks from within the games industry or who play games, they kind of understand this natural. You know what? If I'm watching a movie, I'm seeing what somebody else is doing on a TV screen. But if I'm doing it myself, now I have to understand that situation in a much, much deeper level than if I'd watch somebody on a movie screen do it. And I begin to understand complexities about the situation that I would not have otherwise understood if I didn't have to try to do it myself. So yeah, it's interesting to hear you say that because it's gratifying for me to hear people say things like that because that's what we're trying to do. That's why we're doing it through a video
yeah.
game. Yeah,
And one of the things that I love about how long we've had 6 Days in Fallujah out for now, with the coverage you've seen and the different communities of people that have provided, for example, commentary for people playing the game. And it's great because we'll see people who clearly know what they're doing, which is great because
yeah,
then you really see the optimal play format for the game. But what I love the most about that is you hear the voice commands, you hear the clear communication between the squad members,
yeah.
where to go, what to do. You see the tactics of using the vehicle for coverage as you move from point to point. It's really amazing to have all these memories come back of how we were
Mm,
trained.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so I'm really excited about this new content. And the reason, so one of the things for me, and please forgive me, is that
Mhm.
I have not played the game.
Sure.
So coming up until recently, I've avoided the game because, as amazing as I thought it was, I watch a lot of content for it.
Yeah.
I was worried that it would trigger me a little bit with
Mm,
memories and stuff like that
interesting.
because visually it's
Yeah.
spot on. I mean, it
Yeah.
looks, I
Yeah.
mean, I remember the doors looking that way, the windows looking that way,
Yeah.
the buildings,
Yeah.
the in some places and some instances, the rubble and things all over the place. So a lot of that, when I first saw the game, I was like, this is beautiful, this is amazing, but it brought me a little bit of anxiety.
Oh,
But
interesting.
yeah, so but that's not a bad thing. That is not a bad thing. That is putting a mirror up to me and forcing me to
Mm,
engage with something that I
mm,
maybe pushed down or avoided.
mm,
So
interesting.
what I'm really excited for is to do a 20th anniversary of the Battle of Fallujah stream for 6 Days in Fallujah come next in November,
Yeah.
and play both the new content you're going to tell us about here shortly, but also to tell you that there's going to be some active duty veterans and people who have spent that time out there going to be
Yeah.
streaming with me to really
Interesting.
show people what
Wow.
this game is and everything. So
Yeah.
I want you to know, like, you guys did an amazing job with keeping it so true to the
Thank you.
real deal. That's
Yeah.
that's incredible.
Thank you. Thank you. It is, and it is for our whole team, not just for me, but our whole team talks about
Yeah,
when they see somebody who was in Iraq, whether they were in the Battle of Fallujah or just in combat in Iraq, actually experiencing the game. That's an emotional thing for us as well, because so much of our motivation in building the game is to try to bring those experiences to people for whom war is just this abstract concept, and to see people who actually were there experiencing the game and giving feedback and comments about it, and seeing it affect them, and hopefully um, uh, um, positive ways,
yeah, yeah.
right? And so that yeah, boy, I look forward to looking at the stream, and we
I
have
appreciate
it.
that.
It has been we've been fortunate enough to have over you know since we released it in released the beginning of it in June of 23. There have been a few play tests that we've done with people who were there,
Yeah,
and that and um, yeah, it's the experiences have been across the gamut.
Yeah.
There have been, there's some that they can't stop. Then
Yeah.
they play it again, play it again, play it again,
Yeah.
and there's others that will start to play it. And I've gotten letters, in fact, from people, veterans who said, I was in Fallujah. I really appreciate that you're making this game. Um, I can't play it. I've played it, I've tried, and I had to back out. It just brought back too much.
Yeah.
And so, understandably, right? If that's the case, understandably, uh, we're making this game both for those who might feel like it helps them deal with something, and also, of course, for the many millions and millions of people who will never experience war, but probably need to know something more about it,
Give
right?
them a
I
glimpse. Yeah.
give that glimpse. I've been having this conversation with people within the games media, and it's uh, especially what happened in Fallujah. You think go back to what happened in the four contractors are killed on that bridge. They're four contractors. They're escorting a civilian convoy. They take a wrong turn, end up driving down the center of Fallujah. The contractors are murdered. Their bodies are mutilated. They're burned, hung from a bridge, and it creates this incredible outcry from Americans that we want vengeance. And that then triggers a series of events. And that series of events has great consequence. But part of that, of course, and when we think about not just that event, but we think about the last 20 years, that our nation, I think, has has not did not understand neither the consequences nor the commitment that is necessary when we deploy, and that is not fair to those that we send. And now this is not me saying, some anti-war we should never gone or anything like that. I let other people judge that, but I will say this: that I think I've heard a lot of frustration from those who were sent, that they were asked to do something with a hand tied behind their back because the American public was not fully committed, because the American public did not understand what that commitment really meant. As one of the Marines that we worked with told me, he said, look, I am there to kill the enemy. The enemy is there to kill me. This is going to be bloody and disgusting and terrible. And that is something that is again, even as I say it, abstract to those of us who haven't been there, but so real to those people who have actually been there. And even when saying that, things like that, those people who have said things like that to me have said, I am proud of my service. I did what I was asked to do, but I'm also a little bit frustrated that we were not actually given the permission to do the complete job. And if we had just done that more aggressively at the very beginning, instead of drawing this out for 20 years, that it probably would have been a lot less consequential for a lot more people. And that reason why that happens is because American public does not understand what war is really about.
You are preaching to the choir. Um,
I was
uh,
guessing you might agree with me, because you know what? Every single veteran I've spoken with feels so strongly about that.
yeah,
But it's just something that's not understood by people who didn't
yeah,
serve. It's just
I,
not understood.
yeah. I think the best example of that, of how the American people was not prepared, was when the first POWs happened,
Yeah,
and the emotional response and the knee-jerk
yeah,
reaction from the American people. And then once that stopped happening, because we stopped accidentally going down wrong roads and equipment stopped failing, they started to lose track of the severity of what the conflict was.
yeah,
And
right.
so their minds were like, this is not that bad. This is not that bad. We're not hearing about it every single
Because
day of
we're
the
not
week.
hearing about it. Yeah,
Exactly.
yep,
Exactly. And so yeah, and then yeah, they weren't fully behind this. It yeah.
absolutely. Yeah,
But but and I appreciate those words. I'm glad they came from you and they didn't come from me because they might seem a little disingenuous if it's just another veteran venting about how they feel about everything. So I
Mhm.
appreciate it coming from your perspective, especially with the work that you've done, um, to kind of really show
That's
instead
what
of
it is.
just instead of just instead of just saying you guys went
Yeah.
out there and you showed the people, you showed the world
Yeah.
what it is and what it looks like.
Yeah, and you're a participant, right?
Mhm.
That's the big difference. You're a
Yeah.
participant. So now you do understand and hopefully develop more empathy for the tough choices that the individuals that we have sent into harm's way
Yes.
encounter, right? In many cases, you got three options. All three of them bad. All three are going to have consequences, and you got to pick one of them because if you don't pick one right now, somebody's going to die,
Mhm. Yep.
right? And that's real for people, right? That is real for people. And so one of the things that I think about that we've tried to do to help make that real for people is besides recreating the event itself, we also include documentary footage from the event and interviews with people who were actually there, so you can actually see and feel from somebody who was there, that person whose moment you just recreated, right? That
Mhm.
you now hear from that individual. What were they thinking? How did that affect them afterwards? Why did they make the choices that they made in that moment? And it's and who are they as a human being making these choices? These are things that you. So this is this blend, right, where you've got it's a video game. Certainly, we're recreating things interactively. But at the same time, we're also mixing that with this documentary interviews and footage to hopefully bring that all together for people to understand this is what it was really like.
And it's powerful stuff. It is powerful stuff. And so, and for me, so what's really great about Weekend Co-ops is it's a cooperative gaming show, the one that I do every Saturday night. And there's 4-player co-op. So it's a squad-based game. We're going to go in there and we're going to feel it out. We're going to remember and we're going to reminisce and we're going to hate and love and we're going to stress about all the situations and scenarios. I'm very much looking forward to it. But you're here to talk about a very specific update coming
Yeah, that's
this
right.
month.
I hope you play it after the update comes out because that's going to be
Yes,
yes.
absolutely.
Good, good,
All
good.
this waits for after.
All right, super. Because it
Yeah.
is a yeah. So here's one of the challenges we've had all the way through. So we there's two or three things that we learned through our conversations with Marines and soldiers who were there in the battle, and one of those things is that if you're playing a mission in a military shooter that you can beat by yourself, that mission is clearly fake. I know of only two situations where somebody cleared a house by themselves in Fallujah. One of those guys was awarded a Medal of Honor. The other one was awarded a Navy Cross.
Mhm.
So this is not how it is actually done in real life, right? But it is how it's done in video games all the time. And it's not just a matter of, well, let's have a bunch of other guys around that are doing stuff. No, 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 no. It's about a unit that is talking to each other, that is coordinated, that is moving together. It is about a unit. It is about that team, and it is about deploying those tactics to overcome a particular challenge. So if you can't do that in a video game, if you're not seeing that in a video game, clearly that mission is fake.
Yeah.
So we built an AI system that forces that upon you. And that also means that in 6 days in Fallujah, if you're trying to play this thing solo, you're not going to be successful.
Right.
Now,
Right.
when we released the first 10% of the game to early access back in 2023, the only way to play it was 4 human co-op,
Right.
and you don't always have 4 humans around to play that with.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of people who were trying to play solo and they were not happy.
Yeah,
Sometimes even two guys.
I've watched a few videos. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, it's
you
it's
cannot do it.
brutal.
Yeah.
It's brutal. And that's part of our point. Our point is,
Yeah.
for years people have talked about we want a co-op game where teamwork is important. Well, yeah, okay, got it. That's the way it really works in real life. So let's just make it like that. And we did that. And then of course now they're saying, well, it's too hard. So what we're doing is we are this is we're actually going to on November 7th, we're releasing our number one most requested feature in the game, which is the ability to command an AI fire team. So now, if you want to play the game solo, you can play any of the missions solo, while you're commanding AI fire team. And you do that through a thing that we call the go command. It says, you might remember older games like the original Rainbow Six and Ghost Recon and Brothers in
Yep.
Arms. They gave you control of a squad. It's been 15 years since anybody let you use military tactics through an AI team in a video game, by the way.
That's
So
wild.
15 years is very, very, very hard to do. But what we've done is we're making it as easy for you to give orders as it is to fire your weapon. So in the classic older games that you execute most of those orders through a radial menu.
Hmm.
And in many cases, the game would actually slow down or pause effectively. You may not have always noticed it, but
Yep.
had to do that to give players the opportunity to deal with their interface and to make a decision. We are not gentle on you in 6 days in Fallujah, and so we had to have a method for you to issue orders really instantly in the heat of combat. So with 6 days, if you aim at a target and you push the go button, that will order your team to hold position and watch that target. If you aim down sights while you push the go button, that will order your team to suppress that target. And then if you push the run key while you hold down the go button, that will order your team to move to that location. And then so you might, but if you order them to for example, move to a doorway, that will then cause them to stack on that doorway.
Mm,
And then once they're stacked on the doorway, you also have context sensitive commands. So if you got a team that's stacked on a doorway and you point that doorway, you can order them to breach in a variety of ways. So we really give players this wide array of actual military tactics that they can deploy instantly in the heat of combat. Push of a button.
that's pretty awesome. And you're right. It's been so long since there's been a squad tactics game that you could play like that. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, you named all some of the classic, shooters, Rainbow Six and all them. They moved away. Everybody moved to this Call of Duty way of playing games, and
Right.
it's not for everybody. I'm gonna tell you that right now. So it's nice
No.
to see squad
Thank
combat come
you.
back, and the
Thank you.
tactics and the techniques. One of the reasons why I think Battlefield is still so successful is because it was still so military-esque.
Yes.
It's also been watered down over the years too, but it
Yeah.
started off that with that essence.
Yeah, it did.
It's
Yeah.
nice to see that come back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. No, we're excited about that. It's the kind of games I like to play myself too. So I've
yeah.
been waiting 15 years myself.
That's fantastic. That's
Yeah.
fantastic. So we are going to be playing 6 days in Fallujah. It's going to be November 9th when we play,
Great.
because we do it every
Great.
Saturday. So we got to
Yeah,
wait till
yeah,
Saturday.
perfect. No,
But
that's great. That's great.
yeah, but if if your team is ever interested in coming back on and talking about future content updates, or there's something coming up that you guys want to highlight, like another anniversary of something, or if another service member shares a story with you and you think that it deserves to come up on US Army WTF Moments or WTF Nation Radio, please let us know, because we would love to share those stories. I know there's going to be a lot of people who are deep in their fields coming up November 7th and
For
for
sure.
quite some time afterwards. So I appreciate this. I appreciate what you've done with 6 days in Fallujah. And yeah, feel free anytime to come on and share more with us. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, you bet. No, I appreciate that. And actually, one of the things we're going to do on November 7th, besides the Fireteam AI feature, one of the other things we're going to do that I think you'll be particularly interested in is this is the first time we're going to actually release some story missions for the game, where we
Nice.
take players through how the battle happened, and then the first of Phantom Fury. And
Mm,
this is, of course, this mixture of recreated event with the interviews and documentary footage, or all of that, to really take people into those first moments of Phantom Fury on November 7th. And reality. So most of the events and that part actually take place on November 9.
nice.
So you're that'll be the way it is. And then of course the other thing we're doing, we are also, for those people who like to play co-op, I might as well mention this to you who plays co-op, that we're releasing an additional mission.
Oh, very nice.
in this update as well. So there'll now be
Awesome.
8. We're calling them procedural missions. All 8 of those procedural missions can be played with 4 humans in co-op or with any mixture of human and AI.
Excellent.
Yep.
That's fantastic.
Yep. And on top of that, we've gone through and we have updated all of the missions, and we have tuned a lot of our AI, and we have overhauled the graphics, all the visuals.
Yeah.
So we've updated our lighting, and we've also we're now using ray trace lighting. It's the hot new thing.
Yeah, it's
And
beautiful. Yeah.
thank you. Yeah, the game looks a lot better. We've updated all of our character models. We've got new environments. There's just a whole lot going into this update.
Yeah.
It's almost like we're relaunching the game.
And that's a very important thing you just said there. It's like you're relaunching the game.
Right.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Who buys a game and then, a year and a half into it, suddenly it's even better than when you first got it.
That's right.
That's awesome. I
That's
love
right.
the love that you guys are putting into the game and continuing to put into the game.
Thank you. Thank
That's
you.
awesome.
Yeah, exactly. And everybody bought it, at early access a year and a half ago. They get all this stuff for free.
Yep.
And everybody who's going to buy it now is going to keep getting stuff for free because we got 12 more missions to go after this.
Wow. Amazing.
Yeah.
That is good content. That
Thank
is
you.
good content. I
Yeah,
appreciate that.
we're hoping to do. Hoping to do. You bet.
Awesome. Is there anything you'd like to shout out? Anybody you'd like people to connect to? Veteran resources? Any kind of something you support that you think our Army and veterans should hear about?
Yeah, well, yeah, actually, and we're going to be doing some stuff with them coming up in a little bit as well. I hope you're probably familiar with StackUp,
Oh yeah, of course.
stackup.org. Yeah, absolutely.
Good friends
So
of
I
ours.
yeah, absolutely. Just talked with Steve earlier in the week, and as a matter of fact, and they've done such a marvelous job of bringing community and games to veterans who might be in a tough moment, and they're I just love the work that they're doing, and
Yeah.
we're going to be doing some stuff with them with 6 days coming up in the coming weeks.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly how many weeks,
Awesome.
but yes, in the coming weeks as well.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, shout out to Stack Up. They're a fantastic group.
Awesome. Well, everybody, thank you again, Peter Tamte from Victura. Thank you for being here. 6 days in Fallujah. New command system coming up where you can solo with AI, up to 3 AIs, or you could be 2 and 2 or 3 and 1. New story missions and new DLCs coming on the way. So stay tuned. We're going to be playing that live coming up next.
My first raid in Fallujah absolutely told me that we did not know what we were messing with.
It was a daily scene when you go out and see bodies dumped in the trash.
That's where the terrorists start coming in from all over the world, even from the United States.
The world had become accustomed to a bunch of things happening in a bunch of different places and thinking they're all not connected, when in fact they're all connected.
My fellow citizens,
any vote that might lead to war should be hard.
This ain't fiction, man. It's way scarier than fiction.
You have a Marine in one of these buildings, you don't know which one. You have a shooter moving between these buildings, you don't know which one, and you don't know how many.
Combat is not about how fast you can react. It's about fire and maneuver and putting your squad in position to cause the enemy to have to react.
Need security on that roof! Fire team up! Secure the hallway. You'll watch the tunnel. Checking the tunnel. Eyeball, that door. Hoorah! Dak, get ready! Move it! Open up! Back up, we're going in!
Contact! Suppressive fire! Keep them fair! Let's flank them! We got him! This is your team, your choices.
Push north!
Get it done. There's so much people don't know about what's really happening here.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was intense. That was, yeah. Peter Tamte from Victura